Hi, my name's Dan Corbett, and I'm the managing partner of BlackIron Group. I'm here today to talk to you about using Salesforce in the manufacturing sector. Then I'm going to demonstrate the tool in two scenarios, one for a widget manufacturer and another for a large equipment manufacturer. But first, a shameless plug. This is our 15th year as a Salesforce partner, and so for 15 years, we've helped customers refine their sales and services processes, extend their marketing reach, and automate and grow their business. This has kept customers and Salesforce coming back to us, and for that, we're very grateful. Particularly germane to today's video, we have 4 programmers on staff who are integration experts, and we've helped over 300 customers integrate with their ERP. Most of the major systems out there, SAP, Oracle, Microsoft, Sage projects, and I'm sure that if we haven't integrated to your ERP, we can figure out how to do it. We'd love to talk to you about that. Data can help manufacturers find, win, and keep customers. And since the 90s, manufacturers have invested heavily in ERP systems for those reasons. ERPs help companies manage and track inventory, plan warehouse and manufacturing floor utilization, and forecast and manage cash flow and capital equipment. But the customer in an ERP system is usually just kind of a side reference. Salesforce integration takes that ERP data and turns that relationship on its head. And making the customer the central focus of that sales and inventory data can change the way you interact with your customer. So today I'm going to show you that in a couple of different scenarios. In scenario 1, we're going to pretend to be a high-end manufacturer of knives. This client sells to big box and boutique retailers. The sales reps make account management visits out in the system, but orders ultimately come in through EDI. And those sales can only be seen right now through external systems. We're going to integrate that into Salesforce so that the sales reps can see it in Salesforce. And since they're often on the road, we're going to make sure that they can do that with their mobile device. Let's get started. All right. So we're looking at an example of what a Salesforce homepage can look like. And this is, I'll stress as I go through this demonstration, just an example. Salesforce is nothing if not flexible. And we have the ability to extensively enhance, refine, customize this screen. In my example, I'm looking at sales information by product. I've got my integration out to Outlook and my calendar kind of shown here on the system. And I've got my chatter posts going over on the side, but I stress again, this can be completely different for everybody. You'll notice in my chatter post, which is a collaborative engine kind of built into Salesforce, that Jane is talking to me about an order that was damaged in shipping to Bed Bath & Beyond, that Ken needs some help on a Williams-Sonoma account, and Dawn has kind of sent me a note here saying that we've introduced a new product into the Icon line, and it's a 3.5-inch paring knife. Now, this is interesting to me, and I want to go find out more about this. So if I click on this link that Dawn included in the chatter post, it takes me into the account page inside of Salesforce. In the account page, I can build various views of data that I want to see in Salesforce. And again, I stress, this is completely customizable in the system. I can make this be what I want to. But in this example, I've got a knife brand preference, it's a tough one over here on the side, and anybody who's expressed an interest or a preference in the Icon brand is listed on this page. So I can click into any of these records from here and go and check out what's going on a particular account. Being into lifestyle kitchens, for example, gives me, and again, completely flexible page that gives me the details about that account. So on this page, I've got a bunch of different data. I've got all the contacts that I work with on a daily or weekly basis over at Lifestyle. I've got all of the sales orders that came from my ERP system, and those are listed here for me to be able to see. Although I've got to say, this view doesn't give me much information, so I'll talk about that in a second. I've got details about the account, so I can see what kind of an account they are, where they are, what their billing address is. And if I roll down a little bit, you can see my knife brand preferences field that we were talking about earlier. And then finally, on the far right, I've got what are called report snapshots that give me views, analytical views that I can actually use into the sales data for Lifestyle Kitchen. And so you can see by month, I can see my sales here, or I can see it by category. I'm going to actually go into activity first, because remember at the beginning of this, I found out that we have a paring knife that Lifestyle Kitchens may want to add to their product mix. So that's where I'm going to start, and I'm going to put that together. If I click on the activity tab here, a new screen draws in the middle, although the data on the side in kind of a console way stays. And I can write an email, right? I can click into the field and type whatever I want to type for the email, just basic information about who I am and what I want to say. But I've got a much better way to do this. And so instead, if I click on this template, I've got a set of information that I can use. And so I'm going to click on the new product introduction for the icon knife. It's going to warn me. And when it does that, that information is going to line up on the page for me. It's going to tell me that just in time for the holidays. It's going to have some graphics in here. It's got an opt-out link built into it for me. And basically, I can use this information, send it out to Phil, and see if he's interested in having me coming by and talking to him about that knife. So that's exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to go into Phil's record here, and I'm going to send this to him. Salesforce does a couple of interesting things for me when I send out the email. I've got information about all the activities that I've kind of undertaken with Phil. Every email, every call, every activity, and I'll show you how some of these got there here in a second. You'll also notice that Salesforce is keeping track of when and how often these emails were open. So this is the email I sent, right? The introducing to the latest icon line. You can see that information here in the system. You can also see that Phil opened it a few seconds ago. Now, in my example, I'm going to call Phil and I'm going to schedule a meeting with him. So at this point, I've got an on-site meeting as an account manager with Phil, and I want to work through not only just introducing him to the new kind of icon knife set and the new icon knives, but I also want to see if I can dig in further. And that's where I think some of this data from the ERP could come in pretty handy. I notice here that in the summer there's not a whole lot of sales, and that's probably to be accepted as kind of the way that they bump up inventory in the beginning and load it into the warehouse. And here in September they're probably loading up for Christmas. So I'm not really going to get involved in that. But if I look at sales by product and just hover over this record, I see very quickly that the classic knives are doing well. My Epicure line is doing pretty well. My gourmet line is doing well. Even my icon line, which is what I want to talk to them, is doing well. But that the Pro line is not selling that well at Lifestyle Kitchen. It's not non-existent. They haven't said, I don't want to carry the Pro line, but they have, just as a measure of this document or this chart, told me that the Pro line is not a core focus on them. It's not what they're selling. This is one of the things that I want to talk to them about. And I got this data from their ERP system. I brought that over into Salesforce, and now I can use some of that information to build out an action plan with this customer. This isn't a report that you have to print out of your ERP in a PDF and kind of haul around. This is real-time, actionable data that's loaded into the system. All right, so let's go see Phil, and let's take our phone with us. All right, so I had a great meeting with Phil, and I'm out on site, and I've got my phone. You can see my phone here on the screen, and I logged in for sake of brevity. You can kind of see the information about the feed. I'm going to search for Phil because he was I was just meeting with, and I'm going to use the information that I've got for Phil and kind of see what's been happening. You'll notice 5 little buttons at the bottom. One of them is log a call, and so that's how that initial call got in there. I'm going to grab that information. I'm going to say, had a great meeting with Phil, period. We need to follow up with Phil on the Pro line, period. Get Dawn Merwin involved ASAP. Speech to text let me do that, and I got that information right into the system. And before I leave, I want to quickly go out there and grab some more information. Maybe I'm on the floor of his warehouse and I want to capture some information. Salesforce gives him the ability through the collaborative tool Chatter we mentioned at the beginning to grab that information. And so if I take a photo, I can grab the information out of the system. We'll just take a picture of my computer, I guess, at this point. And I can post that information directly back to Salesforce. Maybe I'll mention Dawn at this case so that Dawn knows that we're here. And I can say again, great meeting with Lifestyle, period. We need to get on this about the Pro line. And when I post that, that information goes right back to Salesforce, which I'm about to show you. All right, back in the system, and I've got my information here. The call that I put in from my phone out in the field shows up here in my call log and tells me all the information that's kind of come true. So I had a great meeting with Phil, need to follow up. I guess the speech to text for Dawn kind of spelled funny. And if I go into the Chatter tab, You can see information here, including that picture that I just took. Don's got his information here. So anything that I can do on a desktop, and more, frankly, with the pictures, I can do in the field. Salesforce becomes a very powerful mobile system. One last thing I'm going to show you on my system before we move on to scenario. Any of the data that I have in Salesforce at the field level, including custom fields, is reportable, and any report in Salesforce is dashboardable, if that can be a verb. So very quickly, I can get some powerful analytic information that you're probably not getting from your ERP system right in your CRM. I've got information about sales this year, last year at the product line. I've got sales by rep by month, so I can see who's winning, and of course I'm winning, and who's losing. I can see sales by product family for this year versus last year. Sales by rep by product by month, of course I'm still killing it here. Sales by product, any kind of information that I've got out there in the ERP system, as long as I can bring that into Salesforce through the API, I can then report on that and dashboard on that. But what if you manufacture large pieces of equipment? You're not necessarily putting stuff in a box and shipping out to your customer. The stuff that you manufacture takes months to create on an assembly line, and then it takes weeks to get installed into the customer site. Large-scale manufacturers can use Salesforce as well, and we can use it in a different way, but just as powerfully. In this example, our customer sells big generators to distribution and manufacturing facilities. We've got really long sales cycles because this equipment is expensive and difficult to set up. A lot of quotes are sending to the customer during the sales cycle. And once it's sold, I still have a team that needs to get out there and put the equipment in and get it connected up to the shop floor. Sales reps work on the road and inside of the office, and so email integration in this particular example is very key. Let's take a look at this. You'll notice, or I'll point out, that the page layout, the way that I present the information, is dramatically different in this scenario than it is in the other, even though this is the same demo org I'm showing you. And another thing that's customizable about Salesforce is this page layout can be different depending on different kind of customers. It's called record types. And I don't want to spend a whole lot of time getting into it, but I did want you to know that we've got a lot of power, not only just to draw the different pages, but to draw the pages and then create different versions of those depending on the audience or the customer. Now, with Burlington Textiles here, I've got basic information about who they are, what they do, and where they are. I don't really have sales from the ERP system because, again, I'm selling large pieces of equipment. I do have, as I look here in a second, information about opportunities and quotes that I put together for this customer. So if I click into this weaving plant generator opportunity, I can start to see information about the sales cycle itself. And this is probably more familiar to you in terms of how sales cycles typically work. You'll see across the page that I've got what's called a path. And a path tells me where I am in the sales cycle. It can be as long or as short as you want it to be. And any of these that I click into, if I mark its current stage, that information gets captured on the opportunity. So you can see visually that I've got 3 left to go before this one's done. I've got information about this. I know how much money I expect to make from this. I know the products that I'm working with. I know who the contact is, and I've got all of that information right here at my finger. This opportunity, I've got a generator that I'm working on, a service level agreement, and an installation that's about a medium kind of complexity. Again, these products are completely customizable and controlled by you, but I've got a picture of kind of what I want it to look like. First, though, I want to create a quote. And so if I come in here on the quote function, a version of the opportunity is presented to me, only with a couple of subtle differences. You'll notice first that I've got an expiration date. I can give it a quote name. The address kind of comes along for the ride. And so if I capture this information, I can then create that quote along with the line items. This creates that quote for me. It brings those line items that we talked about earlier over, and I've got information, and again, a path that I can follow against this as well. I can also create a PDF of this order, or sorry, of this quote, and have that information available to me to email to the customer. So I drew a picture of this with our name up here on the top. We can put your logo, obviously. The 3 products appear with columns that I specify. Information about the account and about who the quote is prepared for and by can appear here on the top. I've got a lot of flexibility about how this looks, and I can send as many quotes as I want. I can also have multiple email templates, or sorry, quote templates, so that I can send this out to the customer. You'll notice here that I can either save to the quote, save the document, or I can even save and email it out to Jack so that he's got a copy of it, and I track that information inside of Salesforce. All right, so we're going to take this information. In our example, we were so good at this that we're going to get this deal closed. So I'm going to, we call it closed wonning it. I know it's not a verb, but we're going to close and we're going to win this project. Sorry, win this opportunity. And when we win this opportunity, that in turn, through a tool called Process Builder, that's a cool thing, is going to create a project for me. So down here in the projects, this information, again, at the opportunity name, is going to grab information for me and create a project. And in the project now, I can have my installers start to work through this. They can figure out kind of where they are on the project, what sort of information we've got. Any of this is customizable, but this is sort of a picture of how it looks. I've got information about the project itself. I've got a Gantt chart built in here for me so that I could see that. And over here on the side, I've got the different milestones that came from the different products, as you probably saw, or a template, so that I've got that information to capture as well. Once the opportunity is won, there's another step for the large-scale manufacturers. That step can be captured, tracked, and analyzed in Salesforce as well. So where does that leave us? I'd love to hear from you. Your sales rep would love to hear from you. We'd all love to hear from you. So reach out to BlackIron Group by emailing us at info@blackiron.group.com or by calling me directly, Dan Corbett, at 203-604-6765. Geez. I really appreciate your time. Thanks for listening.